England was not always strong. There were moments when a single decision made by a king nearly England's strength depended not only on armies or gold, but on belief in the authority of the crown. At critical moments, decisions made by kings pushed the realm toward chaos rather than security. These moments did not arrive suddenly. They crept in quietly, weakening trust before. To understand how England nearly collapsed, we must return to when the crown itself became the
taxation. Medieval kingship was not maintained by the crown alone, but by recognition from those who were expected to obey. When belief weakened, obedience slowed, and when obedience slowed, order itself began to unravel.
In times of succession, authority vanished instantly, creating a vacuum where power rushed to fill the gap. In the absence of clear law, recognition, speed, and control determined who would rule.
Delay meant defeat!
When authority wavered, England did not fall immediately, but it began to fracture. The storm was coming. In December 1135, the death of King Henry I left England without a clear successor.
Power stood vacant.
Years earlier, England's nobles had sworn loyalty to Henry's daughter Matilda, oaths now tested by...
While others hesitated, Stephen of Blois acted with speed, seizing the moment before rivals could respond. Speed created a king.
Within weeks, Stephen secured church support and crowned himself King of England. Legality followed ceremony. Though crowned, Stephen's authority remained disputed, his commands carrying uncertainty rather than... At first, royal orders still traveled across England, sealed. Sheriffs delayed enforcement, calculating risk before loyalty. Authority hesitated.
Across England, noble households waited, watching to see which claim would prevail. Loyalty became conditional. The first signs of collapse appeared not at court, but in the countryside.
Order was slipping.
By 1137, travel across England had become dangerous, as roads fell under private control. Farmers rushed to harvest early, hiding food instead of storing it openly.
Survival came first.
Villages learned to stay silent whenever unfamiliar banners appeared. Silence became defense. Across England, castles were built without royal permission, symbols of local power replacing the crown.
The monopoly of force was gone.
Power was no longer issued from the crown. It was seized locally, village by village. England was fragmenting. In 1141, the conflict reached its breaking point at the Battle of Lincoln. The kingdom held its breath. What followed was brutal, confused fighting that left no clear order on the field.
Control vanished!
King Stephen was defeated and taken prisoner, an event without precedent in England. The crown fell into human hands. For the first time, the idea of an untouchable king was broken. Authority became negotiable. King's capture spread rapidly, shaking the foundations of the realm. Nothing would be the same.
With Stephen imprisoned, Matilda attempted to assume royal authority. But authority did not follow automatically.
Many who opposed Stephen still hesitated to accept Matilda as ruler.
Support remained fragile.
Her unwillingness to compromise weakened her fragile coalition.
Authority requires flexibility.
Neither side could win. England was trapped in exhaustion rather than defeat. Victory became impossible.
Within months, the civil war resumed, its momentum restored. Peace slipped away.
By the early 1150s, England was no longer fighting for victory, but simply enduring. Exhaustion replaced loyalty. Pressure grew for settlement, not because wounds healed, but because nothing remained to take.
Peace became necessary.
Fields lay fallow, not only from destruction, but from doubt over who would own them next. Uncertainty paralyzed life.
In 1153, an agreement named Henry of Anjou as Stephen's heir.
The fighting slowed. England survived the war, but emerged weaker, cautious, and permanently aware of how fragile.
With Stephen's death, Henry of Anjou ascended the throne as Henry II.
Stability returned cautiously.
Illegal fortifications were torn down, restoring the crown's control over force.
Power returned to the center.
Henry moved quickly to restore justice, reopen courts, and rebuild royal authority.
Order demanded action.
The memory of civil war lingered, shaping how future kings ruled.
Chaos was remembered.
England learned that weak authority invites chaos, but excessive power would soon create dangers of its own. Another test was coming.
Centuries later, England entered a new era, one shaped not by weakness, but by overwhelming authority.
Henry VIII inherited a strong, unified kingdom and absolute confidence in his own will.
When negotiation failed, Henry chose speed and control over compromise.
The choice could not be undone.
Despite stability, one fear haunted the crown: the danger of a disputed heir.
History's shadow remained.
In 1534, the Act of Supremacy placed the English crown above the church. Authority was redefined.
Across England, familiar words of worship began to change or disappear entirely. Faith hesitated.
From 1536 onward, monasteries were dissolved, ending centuries of local support systems.
Something vital vanished.
Disagreement ceased to be conscience. It became a measurable risk. Names were recorded.
From 1536 onward, monasteries were dissolved, ending centuries of local support systems. Something vital vanished. England did not collapse, but it became brittle, held together by fear rather than faith. Trust drained away.
In the north of England, anger grew quietly before spilling into the open.
The silence ended.
Priests, farmers, craftsmen, and gentry stood together, united by loss. That unity frightened power.
The Pilgrimage of Grace was not a riot, it was organized, disciplined, and vast. An army of ordinary life.
For once, force alone felt dangerous. The crown hesitated. Time was bought.
When enforcement came, it was selective and devastating.
Fear returned.
After the rebellion, England did not rebel again. It adjusted. Adaptation replaced resistance.
People learned to speak carefully, knowing words now carried consequences.
Silence protected survival.
Belief was no longer proven through devotion, but through documentation.
Compliance replaced conviction.
The state still functioned, but something essential had changed forever. Fear had reshaped loyalty. The state still functioned, but something essential had changed forever. Fear had reshaped loyalty. Long before Henry VIII, another king nearly broke England, not through fear, but through pressure. His name was John.
When John inherited the crown in 1199, England was functional, wealthy, and organized. Collapse was not inevitable.
Military failure stripped the crown of its continental lands and its income. Prestige vanished.
To fund failed campaigns, John turned inward, extracting wealth from England itself.
The pressure intensified. Tunnel left England, but nothing returned. Loyalty weakened.
By the early 1210s, resentment hardened into shared understanding.
Something had to change.
Old rivalries were set aside as coordination replaced complaint.
Unity formed quietly.
Magna Carta was signed, not from vision, but from fear and exhaustion. Limits were written. In 1215, pressure turned armed, and the king was forced to negotiate. Power confronted power.
England survived not through trust, but through calculation. The system bent.
By the 17th century, England faced a new kind of danger, one rooted in law itself. When Charles I dissolved Parliament, authority narrowed around one man. Power centralized completely.
Men were punished not for violence, but for refusal and speech.
The law turned inward.
Taxes once reserved for emergencies became permanent demands.
Resistance became costly.
England did not fear chaos, it feared precision.
Punishment taught obedience.
After 11 years of silence, crisis forced Parliament back into session. The dam cracked.
Years of suppressed anger poured out in a single moment.
There would be no return.
Courts were abolished. Accounts opened. Authority was exposed. Trust was gone.
Civil war followed, not from chaos, but because repair felt impossible. The nation fractured.
The path ahead no longer led to negotiation, but to judgment. The end approached.
In 1649, England witnessed the unthinkable. A king tried by his own country.
The sentence was death. Public, deliberate, final. There would be no retreat. The sentence was death. Public, deliberate, final. There would be no retreat.
The execution was not hidden. It was meant to be witnessed. The crown fell.
Europe watched in shock as England crossed a point of no return. Nothing would be the same. By the late 17th century, England appeared calm on the surface. But something had shifted.
James II brought experience, but also inflexibility. Temperament mattered.
Warnings were dismissed. Isolation deepened.
Power narrowed inward.
For the first time, England began planning not with its king, but around him.
Replacement became practical.
In 1688, England made a decision unlike any before, inviting a replacement rather than rape.
The king still had law. He still had soldiers. But belief was gone. Authority dissolved.
James did not fall in battle. He simply left. The crown stood empty.
Authority transferred not through violence, but through law. The system endured.
A king does not fall when challenged. He falls when he becomes unnecessary. Power survives only through balance.